I welcome you to GAC Podcast, that podcast where we delve into the world of agriculture and explore its impact on the society. I'm your host, Phillips Josh, and in today's episode, we will be taking a closer look at the agricultural landscape of Nigeria. This is GAC Podcast. Do well to hit on the subscribe button. And if you're actually interested in staying tuned to our episodes or fantastic episodes on agriculture, farming, livestock sectors, or different modern methods that are imbibed in farming today, do well to hit on that notification bell, comment on the comment section where you're listening from, and let's know where we have you from and know how to channel our content to suit your listening. Nigeria, also known as the Giant of Africa, has a rich agricultural heritage that has played a vital role in the country's economy and sustenance of its people. So, grab a cup of tea, sit back, and let's dive into the fascinating world of agriculture in Nigeria. In this educating and enlightening episode, we will be discussing the topic agriculture and Nigeria. Now, in today's episode, to truly understand the significance of agriculture in Nigeria, it's important that we recognize that agriculture is not just an industry, but a way of life. Now, in some years back, I actually dropped a content on a blog spot and on Blogspot on a blog, Ninja Agro Lovers blog, and I've stopped running it. I think I dropped a couple of blog posts there before I got tired of the whole thing, so I had to stop. I wasn't consistent, but I dropped the content, and the topic was our heritage, right? And it was actually on agriculture, and I remember one of the lines says, "Don't just think of agriculture as a way of life; think of it as a business." But the truth is, it's actually a way of life. So it's not just an industry, but our way of life. Agriculture has so far been the backbone of Nigeria's economy for centuries, and in these years, it's actually provided employment, food security, and contributed immensely to the nation's GDP. Now, our country's favorable climate and diverse ecological zones make it very suitable and okay to actually practice wide range of agricultural activities. In Nigeria, agriculture encompasses various sectors which include crop production, livestock, fisheries, and forestry. Now, let's actually start by exploring the crop production, which is the vital one, which is actually the most, I wouldn't say the most important, but I would say a very core sector in agriculture in Nigeria. It actually forms the basic foundation of Nigeria's agricultural sector. Now, this country is blessed with a fertile soil, that supports the cultivation of a variety of crops. Now, this crop ranges from cocoa to oil palm to maize, yam, cassava, millet, and sorghum, and many more. Now, these crops not only meet domestic consumption needs, but also significant for exports and drives foreign exchange earnings to the country. However, despite its agricultural potential, Nigeria still face several challenges in maximizing its agricultural productivity. One of the major hurdles that affect crop farmers in Nigeria is their reliance on rain-fed agriculture. Now, I tell a lot of people that most times when farmers rely on rain-fed agriculture, it doesn't pay off. The reason is because of the climate change issues we're having. Because why would a farmer rely on rain-fed farming when you know that there is inconsistent rainfall? But still, how would they know? A lot of times, even if I were to be in that field, rain-fed farming happens to be the cheapest to operate, and all we just do is pray to God that it becomes consistent, or the crops we are putting on ground tends to do well. But the truth of the matter, the reality is, climate change has set in on us, and as such, we can't actually expect a consistent rainfall pattern. So if you're dropping a crop or if you're dropping a seed in the soil, always understand that there must be provision for nutrients, provision for sunlight, provision for rainfall in adequate quantity, not in excess and not in limited quantity. Now, if any of these materials, any of these essential requirements tend to be defaulted in any way, it will obviously affect the yield of a crop, whether we like it or not. In the same way, when farmers also rely on rain-fed farming, during the dry seasons, when probably they might have planned on continuing their production during rainfall and they start tilling the soil, expecting the rain. There are sometimes they can actually have, due to this same climate change, the level of dry season increases. So you have longer dry spells on the soil, which actually reduces the amount of time farmers are going to be producing, which will in turn lead to food shortage and causes price fluctuation on food materials or food products. Another pressing issue is the lack of modern farming techniques and technologies. Now, many farmers in Nigeria still employ traditional methods of farming. Now, these have so far limited their productivity and inhibits their ability to compete with the global market. This is not actually a lie, because while I was actually taking some classes, one thing that so far discouraged me then was because most farmers relied on their old methods. They always have this belief that this is how we've been doing it, this is how it has been working for us. Now, when farmers start accepting innovations, taking acknowledging new innovations and imbibing them into their business, it's only then that they can start seeing growth, because the scene of the world is changing, and until we start changing with it as farmers, that is when we start seeing growth in our agricultural businesses. So without accepting this, we can't even compete in the global market. But so far, efforts are being made to introduce modern farming practices such as mechanizations, improved seed variety, and precision agriculture to actually enhance productivity and efficiency in the agricultural sector. We are moving straight into the livestock sector of agriculture in Nigeria, and it is as well a very integral part of Nigeria's agricultural sector. Now, the country has a large population of cattle. It has sheep, it has goats, it has poultry and other livestock such as rabbits and so on. Now, livestock farming not only provides income, but also contributes to the production of the meat, eggs, milk, and other animal products. Despite the fact that this sector is one core one, it also has its challenges. Now, this reminds me of while I was in Ocean State at Leventis Foundation, we actually had issues with our pig farm. It was so disheartening that we lost more than 20 pigs, and then we were having issues. The issues was so much that I think it was during that time that I recorded the sow, how pregnant, how to formulate feed for pregnant sow. Yes, you can actually go through it. I think yes, I have it. I have the episode on this same podcast show. So it was during that period that we actually had that issue, and we weren't even able to detect what disease was. We were treating Brucella abortus, which was the signs it was given. The pathognomonic sign that the illness has was more of Brucella abortus, and whatever everything we learned, we tried on it, but we ended up losing a lot of them. So it was more of like a disease that was really brought into the farm. Then it was then too that we're hearing of. Before then, we heard of African swine fever, and that cleared several pig farms, both in and outside Nigeria, in Africa as a whole. And several pig farmers dropped out of business because of that African swine fever. So, first, one challenge that affects livestock farmers in Nigeria is disease outbreak. All right, is disease outbreak. Inadequate veterinary services is also another, because in most villages, remote areas where livestock farmers are located, they actually lack appropriate veterinary services to actually cater for the health of their livestock. And limited access to market is also another point that hinders the growth, or that causes a stumbling block to the growth of this sector. So, what is the essence of producing when you don't actually have the adequate market to sell it? It's more or less they are producing to trade, where you are producing for damages. So that's actually one issue that most livestock markets are having. And of recent, we're actually having one, which is the egg glut issue. So imagine producing eggs and you're throwing away almost 500 crates, bearing almost 500 crates of spoiled eggs. That is not actually encouraging. But so far, the governments are actually trying their best to purchase some of these eggs from the farmers to actually help cope or reduce their losses. Now we are moving into talking about fisheries. Fisheries actually have an immense potential in Nigeria, even in Lagos State, which I know of very well. Now, with the extensive coastlines present in Nigeria, numerous rivers, and abundant freshwater bodies, Nigeria is well positioned for fisheries development. Now, our country's fisheries sector contributes to food security, employment, and generates revenue for the country. Now, however, despite these good things that are present, there are also challenges in this sector. Now, what are those challenges? One of such is pollution. Most times, when I watch videos of how most people dump refuse in the water bodies, I end up asking myself, like, don't they think, don't they understand that there are lives in these water bodies that are actually, now it's more of like a ripple effect. Now you're throwing a stone back, you're casting a stone into that water that would also come back to hit you and hit you harder. Now you're damaging that water body that also provides food for you. Now, when we end up polluting these water bodies, where do we expect the artisanal fishermen to fish from? Where do we expect them to get that fish? Now, when water is polluted, it actually pursues or chases bad water chases fishes away. Yes, most of them would actually run off from that aspect of the water or that side of the water that is polluted, while a lot of them will even die if they are unable to get adequate oxygen that is needed for them or dissolved oxygen that is needed for them in the water. So it's really painful when I see all of this, and it's more like we are the ones shooting ourselves in the leg. Now, illegal fishing practices also is another problem, and inadequate infrastructure pose significant challenges also to the sustainability of this sector. It's more or less like when we're actually carrying out all this, we are putting all our weight on the aquacultural sector, and that's those that produce catfish and tilapia, and more or less they are still unable to cater for the demand of the country, even with the artisanal fishermen providing even more of it. They are providing more than 50% of even the demand, but yet the aquacultural sector is still unable to also meet up with the remaining. So if we do not want to go or to start buying fish for like 10,000 naira per fish very soon in Nigeria, it's best we reduce the rate. In fact, stop dumping refuse in the water bodies and stop polluting our environment. Okay, because when you pollute the environment, especially during this raining season period, you are obviously polluting the water body, because whatever pieces, whatever thing that you're dropping is actually going straight, heading straight into your water body once there is flooding or there is rainfall. Okay. In as much as we have these challenges, it's also heartening, it's important, it's exciting to also see that there are efforts that are being made to revolutionize agriculture in Nigeria. Now, the government has actually, with some stakeholders, are implementing policies and initiatives to boost agricultural productivity. One of such is one that I know of, which is the Fish Farm Estates by Lagos State Government, and I think one of them is in Ikorodu or so. And that is actually meant to equip fish farmers to increase the productivity of fish, in especially for the aquacultural sector. Produce increase the production of fish, catfish, tilapias in the market, which actually help to reduce prices of fish and also increase the supply of it, since we have lagging demands to be met. So another of the initiative is improved infrastructure, um, provision of access to finance, enhancing market linkages for farmers. But furthermore, there is growing interest among young people in agribusiness and entrepreneurship, which is paving way for innovation and technological advancement in the sector. So a lot of young people are now going into what we call vertical farming. They are going into hydroponics, aeroponics. They are going into greenhouse farming, controlled environmental farming. So precision farming. They are taking in different aspects of technological enabled farming practices using improved breed, improved seedlings, improved seed varieties to actually ensure that the adequate production or the adequate ensures that it gets adequate yield from their production. So more of this, even I think there's a program that is actually going on now that is actually equipping you to most of this knowledge. I think the program is sponsored by Farm Lab, if I'm not mistaken, and with Mastercard Foundation, and they're even supporting them to set up their farms for youth. I actually applied for it some time ago. I was selected, but I was already busy, so that was just the reason. But it's actually a super cool program for stakeholders, and for private sectors to actually key into, to actually help more youth to actually get into this agricultural sector. Because whether we like it or not, we need youth in this sector. The older people we are having are not really strong enough to push this sector as far as it needs to be pushed. But if we really want agriculture to go farther, we need young people, and they are obviously showing interest now. So let's push in the resources that are needed to actually support these young people to getting started and moving agriculture to the next level in Nigeria. As we conclude today's episode, it's very paramount and important that we recognize that agriculture in Nigeria is not just about food production, it's also about us building a sustainable future for our generations unborn. Now, by harnessing the potential of agriculture, Nigeria can subsequently achieve food security, reduce poverty rates, and drive economic growth. But however, it will require collective effort from you and I. It will require investment. It will require innovative solutions for us to be able to overcome the aforementioned challenges that we've talked about and also unlock the full potential of Nigeria's agricultural sector. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of GAC Podcast. And the episode is Agriculture and Nigeria. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit on that subscribe button on GAC Podcast. And do not forget, hit on the notification bell to stay tuned to our very interesting, educating, and expository podcast episode. I don't really know what is to qualify it, but it opens your eyes and an eye opener now. So until next time, guys, keep cultivating the seeds of change and remember that the future of farming is in our hands.